You are watching the Jewish Music Report video blog.
Welcome to the Jewish Music Report. Today we're doing a CD review on an album that honestly I didn't expect that much out of, but I was very pleasantly surprised with it. Yoely Greenfeld's Hamevorech Yisbarach. The songs are, I think, the most important element of any album. If you don't have good songs, then no matter what you try to do to cover it up, to spice it up, it's not going to help. In this album, I found that the songs are, I think there was one song that I didn't really care for that was mediocre. But other than that, every song was fantastic. Usually in the Jewish music industry, when an album is put out, you have maybe 2 or 3 hit songs, 2 or 3 really great songs that you really love. And everything else is good, mediocre. In this album, just about every song is really fantastic. One of the biggest problems I find with most of the albums that come out these days is that they are overproduced. There's just too much. There's the walls of trumpets and electric guitars, and there's so much filling the little bit of space that sometimes even with a good song they end up killing it. And that's another area where I found I was very, very pleasantly surprised with the arrangements and the mix on this album, is that it's very sparing for the most part. There were a few intros that had the big, blaring trumpet thing going on, and I guess there's a feeling that to a certain degree they have to give that because otherwise people wouldn't view it as a Jewish music album. I found that those intros that they did it in were really unnecessary. But they kept it down pretty much, and overall the arrangements are very spare, very organic, a lot of acoustic piano and acoustic guitar, and even when there's other elements, it's just an element here, an element there. It's not a lot of things at one time, and what it makes for is just an album where there's really a lot of space for the vocalist to be heard, and for the vocalist for the vocals to move around, and that's especially important when you have a singer like Yoely, who is he has a fantastic voice. And actually, interestingly, in the first section that he sings in the first song, they just have a drum beat going on and nothing else as he comes into the first verse. And I thought that was really, really a very inspired sort of thing, because when you have a singer that's that good, so you want to kind of right off the bat get that out in the open. Here, look, this guy can sing without the music, without anything else. He just sounds great. He holds the tune right. His intonation is perfect. His projection is right. Another area that I really was very happy with in this album was the mix, and of course it should be said that the arrangement plays a big part of that also, because when you have that sort of sparing arrangement, it makes it a lot easier for the mixer to do his job properly, as far as the placement of the instruments and the vocals within the stereo spectrum, and leveling them out right. It's the mixer was able to create the sort of thing where you can almost pick out the instrument. When you hear the instrument playing, it almost seems like it's right there, or the vocalist is standing right there. And of course, again, that's much easier to do when there aren't so many elements going on at one time. when there's enough space to work with, that you can put one thing here and one thing here and one thing there. Whereas if you have 30 elements and they're all trying to fit into a space this big, well, no matter where you put them, you're not really going to end up with that sort of clear placement that gives that that sort of live, sort of organic sound. My only issues with the mix at all were I think it was only in one or two songs where I found I thought it was a little bit over compressed, and essentially what you have is when any noise is playing, whether it's music or any noise, you have the waves that go up and down, and you have the high, the extreme highs and extreme lows, and then you have like the softer parts, and compression, which is a very common used thing, and is often a necessary thing. You're taking the highs and the lows. You're basically squeezing the waves a little bit closer in. And that has many uses, whether it's used on the individual vocal, sometimes it's used on the vocal track to make that pop out a little bit better from amongst the instruments, and sometimes it's used on the master track on everything all together to help things not drown each other out. And there's many other uses as effects. And what happens when that's overused a little bit is that you lose a little bit of the dynamic range. You lose sort of the dynamic between the highs and the lows that I really feel creates for sort of gives more interest to the music when you have the contrast between those different things. It wasn't way overused. In addition, I have to say they probably use the compression to this degree in just about in most albums. In this case, it sticks out a little bit more because the arrangements were fairly sparse and organic, so a little thing like that will stick out maybe a little bit more. But overall, a fantastic job in the arrangements and the mix. Yoely's voice is probably one of the best I've heard. There is a certain richness to his voice. His projection is very strong, but also there's a certain warmth, sweetness, and just a very nice timbre to his voice. And what's nice is that the timbre stays the same pretty much whether he's in the lows or in the highs. His voice still retains the values, which is just a great quality. So in short, it's just fantastic album, great artist, great songs. The production was just done right from conception through execution. This is the kind of album that you'll be able to listen to over and over and over again, and just keep on enjoying it. Definitely worth the buy, in my opinion.